वृंद की जय। नामाचार्य हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय। ब्रजभूमि श्री वृंदावन धाम की जय। मायापुर नवद्वीप धाम की जय। पुरुषोत्तम क्षेत्र जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय। गंगा माई की जय। यमुना माई की जय। भक्ति देवी की जय। तुलसी महारानी की जय। समवेत भक्त वृंद की जय। निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि। All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories, all glories, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Need it. Need it later. That's good. Okay. Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Radha Tanji ki jai. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Janabalaba Girivaradari. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Jamuna Taira Banachari. Jamuna Taira Banachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Madhava Jaya Gopi Jana Mahalama Girivaradari. Jana Mahalama Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yamuna Taira Banachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Oh. Shri Radha Madhava Astasaki ki jai. Shri Chaitanya Chandradaya Mandir ki jai. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Shaiva Narotamam Devam Saraswatam Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayat. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So I think it's Srimad Bhagavatam 1:10, 14, 15, 16. Got it? Okay, okay. Sutta Uvacha. Evam Nishamya. Evam Nishamya Brigunandana Sadhuvadam. Vayasakhi Sabhagavan Atha Vishnuratam. Pratyarchya Krishna Charitam Kali Kalmasagnyam. Vyahar Tumara Bhatta Bhagavata Pradanaha. Boliye. Sutta Uvacha. Yevam Nishamya Brigunandana Sadhuvadam. Vayasaki Sabhagavan Atha Vaishnuratam. Pratyarchya Krishna Charitam Kali Kalmasagyam. Vyahartum Arabhata Bhagavata Pradana. Sutta Uvacha. Evam Nishamya Brigumandana Sadhuvadam. Vayasakaya Bhagavan Atha Vishnuratam. Pratyarcha Krishna Charitam Kali Kalamasagyam. Vyahartum Arabhata Bhagavata Pradan. Sutta Uvacha. Evam Nishamya Brigunandana Sadhuvadam. Vayasaki Sabhagavan Atha Vishnuratam. Pratyarcha Krishna Charitam Kali Kalmasagyam. Vyahartam Arabhata Bhagavata Pradanaha. Sutta Uvacha. Evam Nishamya Brigunandana Sadhuvadam. Vayasaki sa Bhagavan Atavashnuratam Pratyarcha Krishna Charitam Kalikol Masagnyam Ivyahartim Arabata Bhagavata Pra. Ladies chant. Evam nishamya Bhrigunandana sadhuvadam Vayasakaisa Bhagavan Ata Vishnuratam Pratyarcha Krishna Charitam Kalikal Masagyam Vyahartamara Bhata Bhagavata Pradana Sutta Uvacha Evam Nishamya Bhrigunandana Sadhuvadam Vayasakaisa Bhagavan Atha Vishnuratam Krishna Pratyarcha Krishna Charitam Kalikal Masagyam Vyahartim Haramanam Sutta Uvacha. Sutta Goswami said, Evam, thus, Nishamya, hearing, Bhrigu Nandana, O son of the Bhrigu dynasty, Shonaka, Sadhu Vadam, pious questions, Vyasakahi, Sukadeva Goswami, the son of Vyasadeva. Saha, he, Bhagavan, is the most powerful. Atha, thus, Vishnu Ratam, unto Maharaj Parikshit, who was always protected by Vishnu. Pratyarcha, offering him respectful obeisances. Krishna Charitam, topics of Lord Krishna. Kalikalmasa Jnam, which diminish the troubles of this age of Kali. Vyahartum, to describe. Aharabhata, began. Bhagavata Pradhana. Sukadeva Goswami, the chief amongst the pure devotees. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Sukadeva Goswami said, O son of Bhrigu, after Sukadeva Goswami, the most respectable devotee, the son of Vyasadeva, heard the pious questions of Maharaj Parikshit, he thanked the king with great respect, and then he began to discourse on topics concerning Krishna, which are the remedy for all the sufferings in this age. Please repeat. Sutta Goswami said, O son of Bhrigu, after Sukadeva Goswami, the most respectable devotee, the son of Vyasadeva, heard the pious questions of Maharaj Parikshit. He thanked the king with great respect. Then he began to discourse on topics concerning Krishna, which are the remedy for all sufferings in this age of Kali. So Prabhupada ki jai. In this verse, the words Krishna Charitam Kalikalamasa Jnam indicate that the activities of Lord Krishna are certainly the greatest panacea for all miseries, especially in this age of Kali. It is said that in Kali Yuga, people have only short lives. They have no culture of spiritual consciousness. If anyone is at all interested in spiritual culture, he is misled by many bogus swamis, swamis and yogis who do not refer to Krishna Katha. Therefore, most people are unfortunate and disturbed by many calamities. Srila Vyasadeva prepared Srimad Bhagavatam at the request of Narada Muni in order to give relief to the suffering people of this age. Kali Kalamasa Jnam. The Krishna consciousness movement is seriously engaged in enlightening people through the pleasing topics of Srimad Bhagavatam. All over the world, the message of Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita is being accepted in all spheres of life, especially in advanced educated circles. Srila Sukadeva Goswami is described in this verse as Bhagavata Pradhanaha, whereas Maharaj Parikshit is described as Vishnu Rata. Both words bear the same meaning. That is, Maharaj Parikshit was a great devotee of Krishna, and Sukadeva Goswami was also a great assembly person and a great devotee of Krishna. Combined together to present Krishna Katha, they give great relief to suffering humanity. Anarto Pashamam Shakshad Bhakti Yoga Adhok Sajay Lokashyaj Janato Vidvangs Chakre Sattvatam Samitam. The material miseries of the living entity, which are superfluous to him, can be directly mitigated by the linking process of devotional service. But the mass of people do not know this, and therefore the learned Vyasadeva compiled this Vedic literature, Srimad Bhagavatam, which is in relation to the Supreme Truth, Bhagavatam 1.7.6. People in general are unaware that the message of Bhagavatam can give all of human society relief from the pangs of Kali Yuga. Kali Kalamasa Jnam. Okay. So, any questions or comments on this so far? On the general perspective? He's fasting for 7 days and 7 nights, right? It's painful, difficult. Okay, so it's pretty common. Yeah. Okay, maybe we can go on and read some more verses. Yeah. This is number 15. Sri Sukha Uvacha Samyag Vyavasita Buddhis Tava Rajarshi Sattama Vasudeva Katayam Te Yajjata Naistaki Ratahi. So now Sukadeva Goswami begins to talk. How old is Sukadeva Goswami? 35 years old? 200 years old? Huh? 15, 16 years old. Yeah. And he's walking around. What does he live on? What is his diet? Yeah, he was taking maybe 6 cups of milk. Of course, that's like fresh from the cow and happy cows. That's nutritious. But living on a very simple diet, just begging, and he had curly hair, and what was he wearing? Was he wearing a tuxedo? Yeah, Ben Davis coveralls? No. He was what's it called? Dig something. Means he was dressed in the four directions. It says that politely. He was wearing the four directions. Digdarshika or something like that. Yeah. So he was wearing no clothes. And Maharaj Parikshit was on the bank of the Ganges, I guess. About to leave his body, and the news had spread all over the world. Was on VNN, right, or CNN. CNN was broadcasting all this, and all these people came from different places, and very heavy, powerful people, very incredible people. And along comes Sukadeva Goswami, and he seems like a puppy. If some puppy was running outside, everybody would go and start playing with the puppy, like, oh, this very cute, attractive, innocent. And so he was like that. And then some village boys and ladies were going along and just with him, and kind of just, appreciating his beauty and simplicity and how fun was to be with him. Then all of a sudden they walked right into this assembly of all the greatest elite people on the face of the earth. There was Arnold Schwarzenegger, Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, Putin, yeah, it was like, and all these people stood up to honor the puppy, So suddenly everybody was just, and they retreated in, in what's the word, frame of fear, kind of like that. Wow, who is this boy? And then they look at his physiognomy, his structure of his body, and everything else. And then they offered him, see, we're trying to figure out what Maharaj Parikshit should do. He's a very difficult situation, time of death, and so on. And so you look like, the person who can give us the answers, and so on, So everybody stood up to honor him, except, what was it, 2 people? I think it's Vyasadeva and Narada Muni or something. That would have been actually probably embarrassing to him if they honored him. Okay, so Srila Sukadeva Goswami said, Your Majesty, best of all saintly kings, because you are greatly attracted to the topics of Vasudeva, it is certain that your intelligence is firmly fixed in spiritual understanding, which is the only true goal for humanity. So we all have intelligence. We look at things, we analyze them, we understand them. Actually, there's this light going into your eyes, right? That's all that's going in is light. But then you see different things. And my background in psychology, when children are growing up, one experiment, there were some people back in the 1930s, I think, who had congenital cataracts. They were born with like cloudy substance over their eyes. And so they were familiar with everything. They were familiar with car tolls, microphones, tables. They were adults. Then the surgery came to remove those. And so maybe it's something like 25 years old, 35 years old. They were able to see. The bandages came off and wow, what did they see? Wow, microphone. No, they saw a booming, buzzing confusion. Yeah, they had to learn to see a straight line. Yeah, they had to learn to, the amount of education that goes into seeing things is incredible. It's incredible. So we build up our intelligence, and the intelligence allows us to see. We don't think about it. We're absorbing our senses, our sense objects, and a little more intelligence. We're absorbing our mind, what our mind is thinking. But behind that is buddhi, the intelligence. And the intelligence, different people have different intelligence, different bhava, different consciousness, and they see different things. What would the fire marshal see if you came to the Hare Krishna temple? Do you have a permit for passing that lamp around? Somebody Nityananda Prabhu was telling me it's illegal to have fire sacrifices in Texas without, without a permit. It's illegal. I know in San Francisco, when I was the same way, the fire marshal came. It was, what do you do that size? Okay, all right, be a little careful. And he gave us the permit, but we couldn't have an open fire during a ceremony in public and so on. So a fire, comes in. What about an interior designer? Right? They come in. Yeah. Everybody has, their particular view. What if a dog came in? Maybe you have a puppy, a dog. Okay, a dog comes in. What does the dog see? Not much of anything, I mean, like that. But, so the dog is experiencing through. Yeah, nose. Yeah. The dog's sense of smell, ordinary dogs, I think, are 10 million times more sensitive than a human being. Yeah. And the really good ones, the bloodhounds and this kind of old colonel clocked into something like 100 million times more sensitive. He was back in the 1930s also. Somebody robbed a bank in a small town, ran out, went down the street, and his hat fell off. The next day they got old colonel there, gave him the hat. And of course you're wearing leather shoes, right? Your perspiration. So old colonel went out on the street, which is everybody's been walking on it for 24 hours. Yeah, he went right down the street, picking it out, went around the corner, and came to a dead end. They talked to the people, and they said, yeah, there was a guy got out, and he hopped in a car there. We didn't know what it was, but it looked suspicious. We got the license number. Yeah. So everybody has a different bhava, a different perspective, different consciousness, different senses, absorbed. So Sukadeva Goswami says, Your Majesty, best of all saintly kings, because you are greatly attracted to the topics of Vasudeva, it is certain that your intelligence is firmly fixed in spiritual understanding. Atmaramas cha. Who is your teacher? Is it true that people in Dallas are all great scholars? Yeah. Very super famous verse, right? Yeah, even the Atmaramas, even they are attracted to Krishna Katha because Krishna has so many incredible qualities and so on. So that's what he's saying. You're attracted to hearing about Krishna. You could ask me about how to do breathing exercises, to get ready for death or whatever. You could want to visit all the amusement parks in the world, right? I mean, one girl, she was going to die or something within 2 years. They collected money so she could visit all the amusement parks in the world before she died. Something. Yeah. No, but you're attracted to hearing about Krishna. Is this an American tradition also? Any Americans here? Yeah. If you look at back in American, there's one magazine, it's called American Heritage, and it used to be really good. It was essays and stuff about American history, everything else. George Washington, after he'd been president and general and everything else, liberated the country, he retired to his farm, whatever, and he was out there one day and checking on things, and a couple of the slaves were sick, so he took those back to the big house to be taken care of properly. And then it started getting worse, and so finally people beginning to think, George is pretty old by now, this may be it, So they tried different things. They tried leeching, putting leeches on him to reduce the blood, a couple of other things, but he was going. So in the end, they started reading from the Bible. And that was the thing, right? That when you went out, you would be hearing Krishna Katha. So it was good enough for George Washington. It's good enough for any American, right? Yeah. That's how he went out. He went out hearing the Bible. One devotee, Bhaktidayan, he was maybe 60 years old, 50 years old. He and his wife and their son and daughter came to the Berkeley Temple. Remember him? He had a bus. He parked his bus out back of the temple. And he was very serious guy, kind of did the janitorial work. But he was there when his wife's mother left her body. And she's also a Christian person. And she said she was singing Christian hymns right to the end, and her voice broke, yeah. So it's the same thing. It's a popular tradition in different Bhagavat cultures. I have a suspicion in Islamic culture you're also going to find, listening to the Quran to the last moment and so on. Yeah. But because you are greatly attracted to topics of Vasudeva, it is certain that your intelligence is firmly fixed in spiritual understanding, which is the only true goal for humanity. Spiritual understanding is the only true goal for humanity. Because that attraction is unceasing, it is certainly sublime. Wow, so complicated. Okay, because that attraction, I guess he's referring to his attraction or anybody's attraction in humanity, because that attraction is unceasing, okay, it is certainly sublime. Okay, we can become attracted to Krishna Katha. Why? Because he wants something, right? You go out to the Brajmandal Parikrama, the Govardhan Parikrama, people are doing 108 rocks, dandabats, and you ask them what you want. They say, sir, my daughter is 18 years old and she is not married. So I am doing this to get a husband for my daughter, sir. Yeah, so many people. We were staying in Radhakund sometimes, and it was some kind of secular holiday, and all these people from all these big corporations in Delhi had to come down to do Govardhan Parikrama. And they were kind of, laughing about it. They had their name badges on, this company, that. They were kind of laughing about it. At the same time, too, they were, hey, let's do this. It's in India, right? India has a special opportunity. So we're seeing them and stuff, Okay. So, but this is an unceasing. It doesn't come and go. You do it on Sunday. You do this and that. It's a Bhagavatam class. Then you go make money or something. No. He has an unceasing, uninterrupted attraction. And therefore, it is certainly sublime. Okay, what does sublime mean? My God. You don't know what sublime means. We use it all the time. Anybody know what it is in chemistry? Yeah. Sublime is something which goes without sense perception. There are state changes, right? You go from ice, solid, to water, liquid, to gas. These are state changes, okay. But dry ice is what? Water is frozen dihydrous oxide. I mean, ice is frozen H2O, okay. What is dry ice? Yeah, it's frozen carbon dioxide. Imagine that, frozen carbon dioxide. Is there a liquid form? Not really. No. It goes directly from a solid to a gas. That's why when you take dry ice to keep something cold, you don't put it in a container, because after a few minutes it'll blow the top off. They just cover it with some paper or something like that. So that's a sublime state change. It goes from the grossest state to the most sublime state with nothing in between. So why is Krishna consciousness sublime? Who were our best customers in the 60s? What did they smell like? What did they do? Yeah, I mean, they were the most, weird part up. Yeah, Prabhupada was taking them, right? From hippies to, yeah. And that's nothing in between. He didn't tell them to go get jobs and go back to school and, and find a nice part. No, he just took them immediately from being hippies into people who could dictate philosophy to high-class Indian Brahmins. I said that, and they appreciate him. Wow, yeah. So, because that attraction is unceasing, it is certainly sublime. Yeah, it's something which it has no material contamination. Krishna Kanta is compulsory for the Rajarshi, or executive head of government. Ooh. This is also mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita. Imam Rajarshayo Vedaho. Unfortunately, however, in this age, the governmental power is gradually being captured by third-class and fourth-class men. What are third-class men? What are fourth-class men? Shudra. Yeah. Artisans, technicians at the best, who have no spiritual understanding, and society is therefore quickly becoming degraded. Krishna Katha must be understood by the executive heads of government, for otherwise, how will people be happy and gain relief from the pangs of materialistic life? One who has fixed his mind in Krishna consciousness should be understood to have very sharp intelligence in regard to the value of life. Maharaj Parikshit was Rajarishi Sattama, the best of saintly kings. And Sukadeva Goswami was Muni Sattama, the best of munis. Both of them were elevated because of their common interest in Krishna Katha. the exalted position of the speaker and the audience will be explained very nicely in the next verse. Oh, wow. Krishna Katha is so enlivening that Maharaj Parikshit forgot everything material. Okay, okay. Even his personal comfort in relation to food and drink. This is an example of how the Krishna consciousness movement should spread all over the world to bring both the speaker and the audience to the transcendental platform and back home, back to Godhead. Okay. So, any questions or comments now? Yes, madam. I guess we have a wireless microphone someplace. Yeah, yeah.
As we were talking about intelligence, sometimes
You have to talk like you're talking to a moron.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Okay. Sometimes being a human, we do understand situations because of our intelligence. We understand it in more depth, and sometimes the intelligence causes the suffering. In that situation, what should we do?
Okay, I understood about 35%. Problem is I'm wearing Konak hearing aids. I'm 70% deaf, and your voice is kind of high-pitched and you're tuned for lower pitch. So, what did Mataji say? What is it? Now you're going to see how he understood her question. Oh, look at the big guy in the back.
Mao, she was saying that as humans we have a higher intelligence, and yet sometimes that intelligence causes us problems. Was there a specific question? How do we overcome our intelligence causing us problems?
That's very simple. You know what Budweiser is? It's the king of beer. It's the king of beers. The king of beers. Yeah. You see big. You have big posters up advertising, right? And one of them shows this big kind of gross guy with a can of Budweiser, and he says, "Why ask why?" Right? Just have another beer. Yeah. So it's in the mode of passion. Our intelligence is problematic, because we can't become stupid enough to actually just forget everything. If you're a dog, you can become just absorbed in the present moment, and everything is great, and nothing. And then you hit some bad thing, and wow, it's bad because you're absorbed. And we had a puppy when I was in the university, the fraternity, and you can imagine what it's like being a puppy with 18 boys playing with you. I mean, this puppy was just, perfect, I was walking back from the campus one day to our thing, and I heard this screaming like 3 blocks away, and the puppy had gotten in the street and gotten hit, And one of our guys was a vet medicine thing, artificial respiration for a dog. You pull the arm up and down. So he was respirating this puppy, and the puppy with every breath was screaming at the top of his lungs, blood coming out. So when things were good, everything was great, nothing to worry about. When the bad hit, couldn't pull his mind away anything else. So only a person in the mode of passion appreciates that the human intelligence, it won't let me. Many comments about this. I'm thinking about many people over the world point out that once you got this human intelligence, it's just you really can't completely forget that, hey, there are problems in life and this kind of stuff. You can't be an animal. You can't be, unless you help yourself by taking some beer. Then was what people do, no? Was it Vita Raga Bhaya Krodha? They become frustrated, and so what do they can't find any solutions, so then they just, eat a lot and go to sleep, But the other solution then is to take the human intelligence, and you discover, that I can find with this ways to transcend stuff, I mean, one of the very first things of Krishna Katha is you aren't the body, right? I mean, so many different people go around through life and they're trained to think, I am the body, right? That's it. I'm the body. Oh, okay, yeah. Then, who was it? Somebody who was head of the Gurukula here. Who was that? What's his name? For a long time. No, he was a dude. Many years here, I forgot. Then he went someplace else. Anyway, he's very successful, very happy. And he said he was working for General Electric before, with a construction job, manufacturing stuff, and making money, and had his life, and blah, blah, blah. And they would have an employee enrichment programs. So they brought one guy who was a presenter of Edgar Casey, who was a mystical guy, pretty cool guy, And he said that's the first time in his life when he actually considered, we're not the body. Yeah. So that's the first thing about Krishna Katha. Then immediately you begin to say, oh, your intelligence responds, this, that, everything else. Yeah, other people. And so that's the solution. What it's saying here, human body has higher intelligence. Prabhupada said anybody who takes human birth has automatically some spiritual consciousness. Even you live in the most remote parts of the jungle, he says there's grandfather's son or something. There's, so if you got a human body and you're basically sober at that moment, you may pretend that you don't believe in philosophy and this kind of stuff, but we know you do. Like that, yeah. Prabhupada says anybody, a few times I heard Prabhupada say this, anybody who takes birth in India, it's because in a previous life they were interested in spiritual life. If you're interested in machines, you take birth in Germany. If you're interested in food, you take birth in Italy. Okay, yeah. But, yeah. So therefore, Indians the same way. Oh, we don't care about these things. No, we know you do. Like that, yeah. But then you're afraid because, God, I really want to solve this problem. And I don't want to be frustrated and, what do we call it, just disappointed. So many times people, they don't want to be disappointed. That's why they don't want to discuss it with you. Bhagavatam. Okay, so we start developing. We're doing that now. Okay, back over here. Yeah. Watch out. Yes. Bum, 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 bum. Used to be a baseball player. Yes. Imagine what it was like when he hit a home run.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Am I audible? Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah. So my question is, being a householder, working 8 to 10 hours in a corporate world, and not really understanding the urgency of taking up this Krishna consciousness process, and not having enough opportunity to have physical association of a self-realized devotee, how can we develop a deep taste, interest, and relishing this Hari Katha, and come out from this 3-4 hours per day bhakti to constant remembrance of Krishna?
My God, it's an entire essay. Wow. Okay. Once upon a time, there was a big flood, and the water was coming. I don't know if you know this story or not. Okay. There's a big flood, right? And this man had a house, and the water came up to the level of his front porch. It was, just coming right up to the level of his front porch. And this big truck went by on the road in front of his house, and the guys yelled over, "Come on, just wade through the water and hop in our truck, and we'll get you out of here." And he said, "No, I'm waiting for God to save me." So they went off, okay. And the water got higher, and it came up to his, he had to go up to the second floor. And then some people came by in a boat, and they said, "Hey, just jump in the water and swim across, we'll get you out of here." And he said, "No, I'm waiting for God to save me." Then the water got higher and had to climb up on the roof, okay. And then a helicopter came, and they said, grab the rope, we'll save you." And he said, "I'm waiting for God." And the helicopter was getting low on gas, so it had to go. And then the clouds separated, and a big light came down on him, and a big voice said, "What are you waiting for? I've already sent a truck, a boat, and a helicopter." So you're asking, how can I? Hey, Krishna's already sending all these opportunities, right? And that's our problem. Our problem is that Krishna is already giving, again and again. How can I do this? Yeah, Krishna is giving so much mercy, right? And so the main thing is looking for the mercy, not figuring out how I can do this, how I can do that, how I can become spiritually advanced. No? So Krishna is giving opportunities. And somebody, you have association. Some opportunity arises and you don't take it. right? So that's the main thing, is just like, yeah, as opportunities are there and I can increase my hearing and chanting, yeah. I mean, again, Prabhupada said because he was a Grihastha, Prabhupada said the best, okay, how far back do we go? The best time to chant your rounds is before Mangal Artik. Okay. I started doing that about 2 months ago. I'm a sannyasi, I can do it. And boy, it's different. I mean, my whole life has just changed, shifted because of that and so on, But Prabhupada said I was Grihastha, and so I would get 4 rounds done after I got up, 4 rounds before I had breakfast. Of course, breakfast in India, getting to work, it's by 10 o'clock usually. Okay, 4 good rounds during the day, and 4 more rounds before I would take rest, right? And so there's an example from the Acharya of showing you. He said, because so many things happen in Grihastha ashram, there's so many things like that, you're saying, But he said that was his standard. 4 rounds when he would get up, 4 rounds before he touches breakfast, 4 rounds during the day. Yes, it's natural. And then what happens at 6 o'clock at night? What, it's the happy hour, right? It's not the happy hour for the businessman because he's upset. Oh, I can't work anymore. If I just had another 30 minutes, I could have, But for the fool, and then he starts taking his food in the mode of ignorance, his association, So and there again, just, get up early, your Grihastha ashram and so on. And then, and have a good solid program. And when you do, at 10 o'clock, now it's time to make money. yeah. But now you got a perspective of how to do it, and everybody else, and in your whole business, people like, this guy is, he's motivated. He has a good reason, And then mode of ignorance, you go with your family, you go by to the shopping mall and buy stuff for your deities. Yeah. So I know devotees, grihastas, and that's basically, have a good solid program in the morning, and when you do your business stuff, do it. But now you got a basis for it, and so it's actually, Prabhupada says if you chant 16 rounds in the morning, there'll be no question of management. Management will be at the end of your finger, he says. Everybody will respect your preaching, and there'll be no question of shortage of funds. So if you work from 2 o'clock in the morning until 10 o'clock, then after that it's all play. It's fun, it's interesting, and everything else, right? Okay, we should go on with the purport here, I think, before we got, how many more we got to do here? Okay, everybody's going to go back home to Godhead. This is the last one, I think, right? Yeah, it's 14, 15, 16. Okay, 16. Yeah. Vasudeva Kata Prashnaha Purushanks Trim Punatihi Vaktaram Prachakam Shrotrims. Wow. Tapada Salilam Yata. The Ganges emanating from the toe of Lord Vishnu, this is Sukadeva Goswami talking to Maharaj Pariksit, purifies the 3 worlds, the upper, middle, and lower planetary systems. Similarly, when one asks questions about the pastimes and characteristics of Lord Vasudeva, Krishna, 3 varieties of men are purified. The speaker, or preacher, he who inquires, and the people in general who listen. It's a very famous kind of verse, right? Yeah. Purport. It is said, Tasmad Gurun Prapadyata Jijnyas Shreya Uttamaha. This is cited in Upadeshamrita. Yeah. Bhagavatam 11:3:21. Now that's easy to remember, right? 11 and 3 is 2 plus 1, right? You got it? You remember now? 11:3:21. And then you start localizing who's talking to who. Maybe this is the, the Karamboja Muni, the Navi Yogendras are talking here. Those interested in understanding the transcendental subject matters as the goal of life much approach the bona fide spiritual master. Tasmad Gurum Prapadyata. One must surrender to such a guru who can give right information about Krishna. One time we were doing a program in Boise, Idaho. You were there. And one of our Indian members, a long time there, his father and mother were visiting. He was retired. And his father had been a part of the Indian Navy. right? He'd been like a captain on a frigate or something, you know. And so I was preaching this and that, and his father was, you know, coming to the Krishna consciousness movement kind of the first time, whatever, and visiting his son in Boise, Idaho. And I was preaching, and his father was like, you know, kind of like not accepting and arguing and this and that. Then Krishna, Anantarup whispered in my ear, the president, he said, he's a former military guy. You've been using the word surrender again and again. Yeah. But that's the context. What does it mean, surrender? Surrender is an active process. It means harmonize, integrate, right? Yeah. How are you going to learn anything if you already think you know everything? Yeah? So we have to surrender. It doesn't mean become blind faith. It's almost the exact opposite. You have to start using your intelligence, yeah, as an active process to try and understand. Otherwise, you're not going to get it. It's work. Understanding is work. Doesn't mean this, you know, one philosophy of education is sit still while I instill. Yeah, it's the empty box philosophy. But that was not what Socrates and everybody else were talking about. You know, active process. The Encyclopedia Britannica has a really good article on the philosophy of education. It's really interesting how it's developed. And this is from the Western point of view and stuff. But it's the whole thing, education. We're here. Okay, you have to surrender. You have to get involved. You have to change your attitude. You have to want to learn. One must surrender to such a guru, not to a fool or a devil, who can give right information about Krishna. Herein, Maharaj Pariksit has surrendered to the right personality, Sukadeva Goswami, for enlightenment in Vasudeva Katha. Vasudeva is the original personality of Godhead. The original personality of Godhead, who has unlimited spiritual activities. Srimad Bhagavatam is a record of such activities. And Bhagavad Gita is the record of Vasudeva speaking personally. Therefore, since the Krishna consciousness movement is full of Vasudeva Katha, okay, anyone who hears, anyone who joins the movement, and anyone who preaches will be purified. I tell one story. There was one devotee, what was his name? Bhakta Bill, I think, okay. And Bhakta Bill was an alcoholic, okay. And he would get temporary, like when these festivals come, you know, like you work with these things, you set up the festivals and stuff. So Bhakta Bill was like on call. Whenever they were setting up some festival, they would call him up and say, hey, we need somebody to assemble, 4 guys to assemble for this thing. So he had this part-time work he would take and stuff. But most of the time he was just staying in one club with sawdust on the floor and living on beer and pretzels. You can go a long time on beer and pretzels before you die. Beer is actually nutritious. I mean, you'll be a strange death, but so he was kind of living on that, just the bar snacks and stuff. And it's a true story, he told me. Then every Sunday he would come to the Dallas Hare Krishna temple, right? This is a long time ago. And then he was a little bit pious, right? Agyata Sukriti. So he came because he thought, well, it's not really fair just to come and eat. So he would come and sit through the kirtan, through the lecture, and then he would eat. He said sometimes he would take 6 plates of food. It was the only thing he had to eat the whole week and stuff. So he came for 1 year. He was coming, right? Different kinds of people are becoming purified. And at the end of 1 year, his mind said to him, Bill, huh? What are they talking about, Bill? Huh? So after 1 year, 52 times 3 plates of prasadam and everything else, and having it flood him, Shimbatam Swakata Krishna, he actually was able to, attracted to, understanding what they were talking about, right? Yeah. So the first thing he figured out was that the Hare Krishnas believed in reincarnation, right? 52 lectures he'd been to, and he hadn't figured out that the Hare Krishnas believed in reincarnation. Okay? I mean, how many people are like that? You go out and talk to them, and you realize they're just kind of like, floating along, reacting to the environment. My God, that's weird. Weird, but reincarnation? Wow, okay, yeah. And the second thing he figured out was that the Hare Krishnas were vegetarian. 52 Sunday feasts. Yeah, right. But no meat in the food. Yeah. Boy, I'm not going to come back here anymore. These people are weird. But food's pretty good. Like that. Well, and maybe I'll reincarnate as a cockroach in the bar, and then I can get all the alcohol I want for free. But yeah, so he was an example, extreme example. And I knew maybe you know other people. I know other people. It's like they're just complete basket cases, and they start coming. The sound vibration, everything else, and if good source, it touches the heart, simulating something in the heart, and you can see the whole process changing like that. So this is Vasudeva Katha, and it's talking about higher and higher people, and using the language in more and more subtle senses, right? Yeah. Bhagavad Gita maybe has simple language, but we're talking with Radhika Raman. The 4 Kumaras want to go into Vaikuntha, right? And then the gatekeepers say, what? You're too small, right? Right? He won't let them go in like that and stuff. And they criticize them, and at one level, the Sanskrit and Prabhupada's translating it, Charyas are giving something, but Radhika was saying it's a completely another level, because when they're criticizing them about being bad people in this way and that way and this way and that way, all the words they're using refer to family relationships. So there's one layer, then there's another layer, then there's another layer. Someone like Sukadeva Goswami is so intelligent that when he's composing these things, he's composing them, right? At different levels like that and so on. I mean, yeah, you can drive your car and talk on your cell phone, right? What can Sukadeva Goswami do? Yeah. And so we're just beginning to appreciate Krishna Katha. When Radhika was in Oxford, they brought one Professor Narsingha Rao, what was his name? You got it, yeah. Narsingacharya, yeah. From University of Madras to come and give a seminar for the graduate students on the Bhagavad Purana. And we had him come 2 or 3 times over several years and so on. Very distinguished professor. And then, maybe 6 graduate students, and he lectures them and stuff. This is the Oxford system. And they have to write papers and so on. So anyway, because he was Indian, he was associating with Radhika and had him come to his apartment to help him fix the heater and that kind of stuff. And he said, Radhika said he would even tell him off-color jokes in Sanskrit. I mean, not bad, but things that were a little, because you can do that in Sanskrit also. You can tell stuff like that. But he did it in Sanskrit, yeah. Anyway, at one point he said, there's a statement that the Puranas are like stars in the clear night sky, so brilliant, so sharp, and so proud. We are the Puranas, Yeah. And he said they're that way until the moon of Srimad Bhagavatam comes up. Then, oh my God, he's a little bigger than we are. He's a little brighter. And he said, this is not an exaggeration. He said, I've read all the major Sanskrit literature and most of the minor stuff, and I'm not being proud. I've been doing it for 50 years. And so if I hadn't done that, it would be, something. And he said, it's not an exaggeration. He said, for the beauty of the poetry, for the sophistication of the grammar, and for the complexity of the philosophy, Srimad Bhagavatam is in a class by itself. I know one person, he was a complete atheist in India. Nice person, Indian guy, but he was an atheist. And he believed that everything evolved, right? Cockroaches evolved from frogs or whatever it goes, and they kept evolving until finally you got human culture. And for his opinion, the highest evolution of human culture was Srimad Bhagavatam. Isn't evolution wonderful? It produced Srimad Bhagavatam. Yeah, but even a complete atheist, and he, who knew it, somebody who knew it. And we're dealing with Indians, and a lot of Indians, very cultured people, Sanskrit, everything, until they come in contact with Prabhupada and devotees, they think that Bhagavatam is for less intelligent men, women, children. Yeah, one of them, we was telling him, his friend on the phone, he said, I used to think that Bhagavatam was for lower class people. Then I began to realize that my Sanskrit, which was good, was lower class. By associating with these people, I'm beginning to realize the Bhagavatam is so wonderful, so on. So anyway, that's what it's basically saying, and even as Prabhupada's put it, so available that you don't have to become a great Sanskritist, right? And you haven't got to study Sanskrit poetry to appreciate that. Maybe next lifetime that will happen. But he's putting it in such a way. We're going through the first canto again now in Houston, and so many of us who've gone through the whole thing like that, you're realizing, my God, it's just, so many things that you did not pick up on. So many incredible things that Prabhupada has in the first canto and stuff. So anyway, it's a great adventure. And the more you go on, that's the idea. We should become more purified so we can relate to a certain kind of people, the kind of people we have to preach to and stuff. And it's different, everybody. And as you go on, you become more purified, and then the Super Soul guides you. Yourself, one time, we took over the temple in Berkeley, California, our 2334 Stewart Street. And people were they didn't know how to deal with us because it's a communist area, and what are we and this and that. So there's the lobby in the temple, and up on one end of it was Jadharani's picture of Nrsingadev. And Prabhupada told her there should be blood everywhere. If the Supreme Lord is not ghastly, what is the question of ghastliness? So it's like, you've seen that picture, right? Nrsingadev tearing Hiranyakasipu's intestines open, and Prahlad standing there with blood up to his feet, a flower garland. So one professor came in, and he was kind of skeptical. What are you people? What are you doing? This and that. You're Hindus. And so I was just taking him around the temple and showing him things. And we finished off in the lobby, and he looked up at this picture on the wall, and he said, "Is that one of your Hindu gods?" You Hindus and all this kind of stuff. And again, I did not produce the words, but out of my mouth I said, "That is the incarnation of Krishna who takes care of child molesters." And immediately the guy was, it was like, thank you. I have something new to think about. Yeah. So there's so many stories about, other people. It's just the Bhagavad Gita. I'm the taste and water. And you just see the Krishna Katha. We can reach all kinds of people. And sometimes you do meet very elevated people. And you realize, no. Yeah, I mean, in university, I've taken Carl Jung to this point of, the top level of intellectuals in the world somehow or other. Meeting with them and then myself, and wow, they're appreciating. You guys know your stuff. I know psychology enough to relate, and then they start becoming really interested. Okay, we had to do a program. I'll finish off. Right, I gotta stop. Okay, in Buenos Aires. Okay, one of the devotees was a psychologist working at a mental health center, and they had something like 35 psychologists and 450 clients and stuff. Okay, it was maybe the most difficult lecture I ever gave in my life. Okay, when we went in there, first off, the director, was asking the guy, he's friendly and everything else, but he wants to make sure that we're going to be cool because one of his psychologists is bringing these people. I'm not sure about us. And we talked about everything, and he was like, oh, okay, this is good, let's go on in. So he went in, and it was thrust seating, and maybe like about 250 of these people, right, all these psychologists now. Now, these are people who are used to dealing with women who are on drugs, right? They just had a horrible life, who are lying and stealing with their family members to get money, whatever, things like that, who are lying to themselves and everybody else and messed up every psychological way. So these are people, so if you say, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they look at you, yeah. How much do you really know, right? They're working on this level of beyond just the gross aspect like that and so on. So I can present the philosophy and this and that and so on. But these people are not concerned with that. They've heard this. They want to know on a more subtle level what's happening. So it was, for me, I really had to go deep into what I knew and didn't know and admit things I didn't know. And by the end of the whole thing, totally exhausted, and they went out and bought, I think, at least 4 books each, every single one of them. The book distributors were like, I've died and gone to heaven. And they were asking, and then the same thing too, they were asking these questions about, well, why do I need this book and everything else and so on. Yeah. So anyway, you do meet. Krishna will send us to all kinds of people. They all need it. And you never know from the externals what kind of person you're dealing with, right? Sometimes you just, even they don't know. Suddenly this person, they never met someone like you in their life, and suddenly you're just going, right? And it keeps going to the point where I'm a person, he came right back. I met him on the train. In the end, he came back and bought books for becoming a book distributor, from, yeah, he became from the guy on the train to a Sankirtan devotee within 45 minutes. He was bought, yeah. So, Krishna Katha, Sukadeva Goswami and Sutta Goswami. Thank you all very much. Hare Krishna. Back home, back to Godhead. Now you can start taking prasadam and become a cockroach. Okay.
Jai. Hare Krishna. So today Maharaj is leaving to Spain with Nanda Braja Prabhu. Yes. Maharaj was saying he had two options, one ticket from New York and one ticket from Dallas to fly to Spain. And we're very glad that he chose Dallas to fly to Spain. And are very grateful for your association, Guru Maharaj. Yes. And we pray for your safe travel, and we hope that you can come back again to Dallas and give us your association for many more days. Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Thank you.